Hey guys, welcome into the video. It's Liam, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite interior design styles, and that is Scandinavian. We're going to be touching on some key elements of Scandinavian design, but I'm also going to be giving you some tips if you live in a smaller space like an apartment or a rental unit, and also some things you can do yourself, some DIY tips, so that you don't have to spend a bunch of money to get this style. So we're going to cover 5 key elements to Scandinavian design: texture, neutral colors, light, nature and wood, and finally, comfort. And there are definitely some other things you could probably consider, but again, these are the ones that I'm going to focus on in this video. Number 1, texture. I've chosen to start with texture because the variance of texture is probably one of the most noticeable things about Scandinavian design. Raw wood is often paired with concrete or brick. Soft blankets and linens often contrast with rough or smooth ceramics. And rattan or rattan, jute or wicker decor contrasts with glass and fire. While there are still some rules that you could follow in terms of how much of each of these different textures to include, the general idea is the more variance that you have in your space in terms of texture, the closer you'll be to the Scandinavian style. Now, if you live in a small space like an apartment, you can start by simply mixing soft things and rough things. So a table made of wood goes well with a cozy couch with a soft blanket on it. You could incorporate vases or plant holders made of clay, made of glass, or even concrete. And for those of you who are DIYers, consider making things that your apartment or your small space doesn't have. So for example, if you have carpeted flooring and plain walls like we have in our apartment, you might want to bring in things like wood or fibers like rattan or jute or even bamboo, as well as soft things into your apartment. And if you're lucky enough to have concrete floors or wood floors in your apartment, then focus on bringing in those other textures that you don't have. And with this whole video, if there was one thing that I could say that you could do to try to get the Scandinavian look in your home, I would say try to bring a lot of different textures. Number 2, neutral colors. Now in general, we tend to see a lot of whites and grays, as well as beige and browns, and even some of those charcoal or darker colors like black. We see all of those colors with Scandinavian design. There does tend to be more light colored things in Scandinavian design, but the main thing that you should think about is neutrals. It's those muted neutral colors. And for my fellow renters out there, think about the colors of the natural world, right? The colors of sand, the colors of the woods, the colors of a field or the ocean, and try to bring those colors into your space. Luckily, most apartments that we can rent have lighter colored walls and lighter colored carpets. So your furniture might need to be beige, gray, or even a darker color to complement those light colors. And if you have decor right now that is the right texture, but just isn't the right color, consider repainting it or painting it with lime wash, which is a really common paint that is used on walls in Scandinavian homes. And it gives it kind of a more textured look and make something that is more visually interesting in a room. Number 3, light. Okay, next up is light, and I use the term light instead of a word like lighting because there's a big focus in Scandinavian design on light and airiness in a space. So these concepts are more important initially to think about rather than the specific light fixtures that you use. But we'll get to those too. In Northern Europe and in the northern parts of the Northern Hemisphere, there isn't a whole lot of light in winter times. And you can go months, without really having a whole lot of daylight. What Scandinavian interior design often incorporates is very large windows so as to maximize the light that you do get in. So what can you take away with this? Well, prioritize the natural light that you have. When you're laying out your room, consider putting those living areas that you spend a lot of time in nearby a window. Especially if you have a house, you have a lot more freedom with where you put your furniture. Now, when the sun goes down, we do need to consider the lighting options that we have inside of the home. Lamps are very commonly used, whether that's a lamp sitting on a table or a side table. Maybe it's a floor lamp like the one you see behind me, or maybe it's a wall lamp or a hanging lamp like the one you see behind me as well. For a more rustic light feature, choose a lamp shade that has that rattan or jute or even bamboo material on it. And if you're looking for a more modern light fixture, they make a lot of orb-shaped glass and metallic lamps that are pretty popular right now. Now, for apartments and for small spaces, we need to keep in mind that those silly boob lights that we see on ceilings that everyone on YouTube is shaming all the time, they're not gonna cut it. We need lights to light up our corners, the spaces that we use, the spaces that we sit at, right? We need those lights to be there rather than just in the center of the room where they don't give us adequate lighting. And most likely you will want some kind of statement or standout lighting piece that you can really be proud of in your home. Something that is really special, something that is made of a unique material, or something like that. So these are some fun ideas you can play with when you're thinking about your lighting. You should also use warm-toned light bulbs, and again, light up those small spaces rather than trying to light up an entire room with one light. And lastly, fire is another really natural source of light, so consider adding candles to your space, or if you're lucky enough to have a fireplace, use that. For a really cool DIY project, I've seen a lot of examples of people taking an older rattan or rattan lampshade and basically undoing the ends of it so that those fibers hang down naturally, and it gives it more of a rough look, but it's also a really unique piece of lighting that you're not going to find being sold at stores like IKEA, simply because it's a little distressed looking, but it looks really, really cool. Number 4, nature and wood. Now, we can't talk about Scandinavian interior design without talking about natural elements and bringing wood into the home. The inclusion of natural or painted wood adds so much to the character and feel of your home. And likewise, plants literally bring a space to life by adding life to it. So big leaf plants like a Monstera deliciosa or even a pothos, as well as small trees and palms, all of these things really elevate a space and make it feel more comfortable, and they add a little bit more color as well. Now with wood, most Scandinavian homes either use wood flooring or wood sideboards on the walls. Oftentimes it is stained or painted a certain color, but you can always see and feel the texture of it. And there's also a lot you can do with decor. So I'm thinking of things like raw wood side tables, wood stools or benches, and then things like wooden bowls that you would put fruit in or things like that. Now, for those of you who are living in an apartment, you might not be so lucky as to have beautiful wood floors, or definitely not wood sideboards on the walls. And so one thing that you need to do is focus on bringing in those wood elements with big pieces of furniture. Now those big pieces of furniture would be things like tables, side tables, coffee tables, desks, right? You've also got things like shelving that would be made of wood that you put on the wall. Plant stands can be made out of wood. So you want to try to bring in wood in as many different ways as you can, and especially with those big pieces of furniture. For some do-it-yourself decor, the simplest way to bring wood into your home is to go on a walk, hopefully in a forest or somewhere that is wooded if you have it nearby, and find things that you might bring back and incorporate as part of your decor. On your walk, you should also look for things like dried grasses, dried plants that you might cut and bring home and put in a vase, things like that. But you could also go all out if you want a real project and make something like the thing you see behind me here, this wooden slat. It's almost like a room divider, and I've used it kind of as a wall accent piece, and it really adds something different to the room. If you're in an apartment, oftentimes our apartments are pretty basic and bland, and they don't have that character, they don't have that uniqueness to them. And so adding the thing that I did behind me really made me feel like we were elevating the space to be something that was more unique rather than just another apartment with some white walls. And for that kind of project, as long as you pay attention to your measurements and have the right tools, such as an electric drill, screws, wood glue, that sort of stuff, it actually shouldn't take you more than a few days to make that thing at most. Number 5, comfort. Comfort is pretty much the whole point of all of the other elements that we've discussed in this video. If your place is not comfortable and it's not a space that you want to be in, then you can be pretty sure that it's not Scandinavian. The stereotypical idea of Scandinavian interior design is like this white wall with a floor lamp and like a wooden chair sitting next to it. But in reality, I found that it's more about comfort and coziness rather than minimalism. And really the only thing that I can recommend for your Scandinavian interior is to make sure that you have a place where you can sit, relax, maybe have a blanket nearby, maybe have a spot to put your warm drink, and really just be and exist. And that's about it. So that's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. And the last thing that I want to say is that incorporating Scandinavian design into your home does not have to break the bank. You can find a lot of great decor and furniture at resale shops and resale apps such as OfferUp or Facebook. And there's a bunch of other ones you could try. And you can actually do a lot to bring nature into your home for free. If you want some guidance on how to create something like a cozy reading corner, I actually made a whole video about that topic, and you can check it out over here. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.